One out on Facebook and YouTube. Good to see you. We're about to start the show. I'm going to let people in on Zoom as well. Welcome to everyone that's joining us via Zoom. Good to see you here, regulars and newcomers alike. Always like to connect with you folks on these lovely Saturday sessions. Let everybody get settled, and then I'll introduce the program, give some context if this is your first time. This is Piano Tech Radio Hour. We like to nerd out about pianos and musical instruments and creative arts and things like this. I'll give the explicit details momentarily. The reason I'm holding on for just a minute is because we have folks that might be noticing the stream out there. We stream live every Saturday on YouTube and Facebook. And then also we get some people joining on the Zoom. So I want to make sure we get the stragglers in before we officially launch and take off for the outer reaches of outer space here. But yeah, I'd say it's about time. I think we gave enough room. So welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. What we do here, we gather here every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world, including manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Master Classes, an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You could find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can also subscribe to Radio Hour for just $16 a month, get direct access to each week's private Zoom call, as well as all the archival recordings of over 200 episodes in our member area. Join using the link bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. Always like to let you know there's a podcast version of this show, which is audio only, which you can find at pianotechradio.com. We were on hiatus releasing those episodes for a while, and they're coming back in full force now, releasing newer episodes and some archival ones that's audio only. Also, you can check out our Substack for detailed content about music and pianos. Just search for Piano Technicians Masterclass and follow us on the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, those are the basics. So I'll get in here to an introduction of our fine guest for today. Her name is Ophelia Gordon, a rising British pianist. Ophelia is set to release her debut album, Kapustin, Between the Lines, this November under Divine Art Recordings, making her the first female British pianist to record a full album of Nikolai Kapustin, and you can make sure I have that pronunciation correct later, a BRIT School alum. She also makes history as the first from the institution to release a classical album. Her path has been anything but linear, spanning classical guitar, double bass, and piano, each shaping her vibrant musical voice. From her win at the ARS Nova International Competition to her teaching and collaboration in London and New York, Gordon's artistry continues to evolve through exploration and curiosity. Ophelia, welcome to Piano Tech
Hello.
Radio Hour.
Hello. Thank you for having me. That was a great
Absolutely.
introduction.
Good, good. I usually get that. I think I'm good at introductions. We like to
Yeah.
write them up well,
Yeah, it was
and
lovely.
good. I gave a little bit of the secret away in one of our last sessions. Also, recently, there's this famous vocal coach. He's like a vocal coach who I think he does singing, but he also does like speaking. And his name is Roger Love. And he's in a group that I'm in, and he gave just a few tips recently, which I really enjoyed, especially as a musician, in that a lot of us, when we speak, we don't use the full range of our voice. You can
Mm,
speak high, you can speak low, you can take pauses, you can speak slowly, you can speak
yeah,
fast, you can
yeah,
change things up quite a bit. And he just kind of gave this general tip of advice of like explore your palette more, when you're speaking.
yeah.
And he also just noted that is more enjoyable. So I get to practice that a little bit while I'm reading about fascinating and interesting people. It's great.
Well, now you've
Um,
told me that as well, I'm going to be conscious of trying that myself.
yeah, let's make
Yes.
let's make an opera of the
Yeah.
day. Um, well, you're joining us from London, and it's in the evening there, so we appreciate it, but not too late.
No.
And you're sitting there at your piano. You look like you have a nice cozy space to
Yeah.
practice and play.
Yeah.
Um, just tell us what kind of piano you got there. Is it something that you're excited about? Are you looking to upgrade? What do you got?
It's nice. It's a bit of a workhorse,
Okay,
it's quite bright in its tone, and it's a very good piano. It's a Yamaha G. I think it's a G1. So
okay,
it's not massive, but it's decent, and it's seen me through lots and lots of projects. So I'm quite happy with. Yeah, I've always quite liked Yamahas in general. I think they're quite a reliable piano. They
that's
kind of get
wonderful.
get the job done.
Yeah, there's quite a
Yeah.
few people who like their Yamahas, and it's funny because decades ago it was like, don't get those Asian pianos. Like
Yeah.
they've really come forward and become a
I,
leading
yeah.
maker of pianos over the past
Yeah.
several decades. Um, how about piano technician? Do you happy with your local technician?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I live at home with my mum, and she's
Okay.
also a pianist as well.
Oh.
And we do have arguments about I quite like it brighter, and she wants
Mm.
to have it like
Oh.
mellowed out. And I'm like,
Okay.
no, 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 don't tell him not to do anything. Just leave it. Like it's too bright. And I said, no, I like it like that. And
Okay.
yeah, so he's good though. He's doing what we need. So happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But theoretically, you need like the piano set where the curve of them is complementary. You got one on one side, one on the other. This is your piano. This is my don't touch mine.
Yes. Yeah.
Make this one brighter, make this one mellower. Like,
Oh, that's the dream. That's the
yeah,
dream. To have
it's
to
just
have
around the
as many
corner.
pianos as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just around the corner. Which is actually a little bit of a foreshadowing for one of our video clips we're going to share later. As many
Yes.
pianos as possible. Um, I told you that I would do this earlier, so let's get to it. And one of my first questions often is I just always love to hear the story of development of interest and affinity for music and piano. So you said your mother's musical, so this
Yeah.
must have started at least with some early exposure. Where did things first get started for you, and how did you start to understand, hey, this is going to be my life?
Yeah, so like I said, my mum is a pianist. She's also a saxophonist. And when I was born, it was kind of just music straight away. Like the house was filled with music. My granddad was a pianist, and my great granddad was a concert pianist based in Paris, um, because I'm half French as well. And um, yeah, music was just instant. As soon as I could sit up at the piano, I was playing, and it just became something that was like my first language in a way. I never knew anything different. My mum says to me that there was never this case of she having to ask me to play. It was always
Hmm.
something that I just did automatically. Um, so it was never forced, and I grew up learning multiple instruments. So I think I started with the piano, and then I took up the violin, the guitar, and the double bass, and I played all four instruments to quite a high level. And then when I was 16, I actually decided to focus on the classical guitar and the double bass concurrently. So I did my undergraduate studies in classical guitar and double bass. But piano was sort of still going on in the background. And then when I finished my undergrad studies, everything was in piano. So all my work was in piano. My life kind of just switched back to that instrument.
Hmm.
And now here I am, kind of having recorded this album and looking forward to the future as a professional pianist. So yeah, but music has just been always there. It's something that I just breathed with right from the start, really.
Yeah. there's so much to dive into there. One of my questions is just based on your most recent, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing, the album. Um, it seems like the door's open though. It could be like I don't know, like 5 years from now, you're picking back up the classical guitar or something,
Yeah.
or do you feel like you're set? I'll give you an example. I mean, I never did any of these amazingly, but I played trumpet in high
Oh,
school
okay.
and I played saxophone. And when it came time to go to music school, I kind of knew I wanted to go to music schools. I auditioning on trumpet but now it's just I've accepted like I've embraced piano as my instrument.
Yeah.
So, but it sounds like you have more flexibility or no? Or do you feel like you've
Well,
settled?
in some way, yes, because technically the other instruments are so demanding in their own right, especially something like the classical guitar, let alone even the double bass. But the classical guitar, it is a different technique, it's different muscles in the fingers. So when I do play guitar, which is quite rarely now, I can really feel the dip that I've taken. So if I were to make a change, I'd kind of have to start from a lower level than what I was at because it's so difficult to maintain both of those techniques. But I do miss it and I do play when I can. And I think that everything that I learned on the other instruments has only nourished my piano playing, definitely, especially as playing in orchestral settings. Because I think being a pianist, you are already a full orchestra. So
Yeah.
if you have an understanding of the colors and the timbre and the tones of the instruments, you can try to recreate that sound. So I have quite a large palette with sound, I like to think anyway, because of those exposures with other instruments.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think now piano will be there for at least a long time.
Yeah.
But I'm quite crazy and I might end up doing like, guitar album or something, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you always can.
Yeah,
I mean, even like you get
yeah.
you get actors who put out a record or whatever. I mean, I feel like I remember when I studied music early in like grade school and high school. I had this thought which got completely unpacked, which was that like it was all about being technically good up at the thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can play the notes at the right, and you get the
Yeah.
volume right here and there, um, and almost this idea that technically good is better, and of course the myth that people enjoy technically good music better than not, or depending on what you
Mm,
consider technique, right?
mm,
But the truth of the matter is music, and you almost never know what's going to resonate with an audience. And sometimes people want to hear something that's a little bit rough around the edges, for example.
mm.
It's got a special sound to it. So
Yeah.
sounds like you'll always have those opportunities, right?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point as well, what you said about this preference of technical virtuosity versus musical depth and emotional depth, because I feel like the industry is starting to change, especially the classical industry. Like, I think they are looking for musicians who aren't all about virtuoso because there are thousands and thousands of musicians who can play the notes. It's almost easier to be able to do that than it is to have a sense of emotional awareness. And that's almost something that can't get taught. It's something that comes with life and comes with musical understanding and appreciation in a very different level, a lot of practice away from the instrument. And I like to think that the industry is hungry for that more now.
Hmm.
But it's hundreds of years kind of stuck since the 19th century, the rise of the virtuoso, and we've kind of frozen time in that period, and that's why virtuosity and technical brilliance is still so favored.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
agree with you. And I've seen that too, even with guests that come on here. I'm hearing more and more, someone say, yeah, I play Bach how I play it. Like, oh, okay,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's also now that you have social media and just so many outlets, there's less of a top-down approach to what is appropriate, right? And
yeah,
somebody can just come and they can they can put forth their vision of a
Mm,
classical composer even, and if it resonates, it resonates, and nobody can stop it.
yeah,
Millions of people are enjoying it. So
yeah,
um, the people will speak. Um, what do you think? I want to play a recording now,
yeah,
so people can get a taste.
yeah.
What do you think would be better first, the video or the audio?
Let's do the video.
Let's do the video. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that sounds good. All right, so let me pull that up.
Music for the eyes as well.
Yeah, and this will be fun.
Yeah.
There'll be some other stuff to talk about too there. Um, all right, so I'm gonna share that window, make sure the audio is ready. We'll put it up, make sure things are full. And then yeah, you and the rest of the audience are responsible telling me if something's off, because I can't always
Okay.
hear it and see it the way you are. Full screen. Okay, here we go. People are These are piano technicians mostly that are watching too, so
Oh,
they're
fab.
gonna
Okay.
they're gonna love this one, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right. Very nice.
There you go.
Wow. Well done.
Thank you.
Um, how long ago did you put that together?
We did that at the beginning of the year, at April. I think it was in
Okay.
April. Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Um, and the recording for it. So that's the video that goes with the recording version of it.
Mm.
So that obviously that wasn't live because there can't be two of me in the same
Oh,
place,
sure.
you know.
Yeah.
So we recorded the actual recording, I think like a month before.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then we made the video to go with that. Yeah.
Oh.
So
Oh.
yeah, yeah,
And the
yeah.
recording was made there, or
No,
how
no.
did
So
that?
the recording was somewhere else.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I was on a hunt to look for a venue to do the video in that was a little bit unusual and also
Oh.
had multiple pianos because that's quite
Okay.
rare in itself to find a venue that
Sure.
actually has access and is affordable. And
Uh-huh.
I found this venue in Scotland called the
Ah,
Piano Room, where they repurpose old pianos. And because Kapustin is so jazz, I thought, oh, it'd be great to find somewhere that is a bit more rustic, a little bit more lived in. And then I
mhm.
found this venue, and I think it worked quite well.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, and they had a nice selection of different grand pianos that I could choose to play on. But obviously, because it wasn't the live recording, because that was done in a studio,
Okay.
just with one piano. Uh,
Okay.
these pianos weren't, I wouldn't say that they were like recording level instruments, but they were still good
Yes.
instruments.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bit different. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So fascinating. Well, I think you did a really good job of you wouldn't call it lip syncing, but it
Yeah.
looked like that's what it looked like you were playing and
Yeah.
recording on those pianos. There was a little, as a piano tech, yeah, there was a little question in my mind. Wow, like
There's,
that Bechstein is really well in tune with the
yeah.
Steinway, and like
Yeah.
they're holding that together with a speech piece of Scotch tape, and it's got like that
Yeah.
consistent of a tone. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. No, no. It was, yeah, we recorded that on a Steinway D.
Okay.
1960. Oh, I can't remember. That's really bad of me. I think it's like 1967 or something.
Okay.
A really nice piano. Um, and so what I did is I recorded one of the parts solidly, and then I played on top of that the other part. But
Mhm.
the whole process was very, very complex and took actually a long time to kind of sync it all together. And
Yeah.
I had to record myself over and over and over again to make sure that the swing was
Yes.
syncing
Hmm.
correctly.
Yes.
Um, and there's only one recording commercially that exists of that piece.
Mm.
And the pianists have chosen to not do any swing at all. So I kind of had to think about
Ooh.
how am I going to interpret this myself
Yes.
with more of a swing rhythm. So
Oh, okay.
yes, so that was
I
kind
want to
of,
hear that other recording too, though. I was going to
it's
make a
brilliant. It's
comment.
brilliant. Yeah,
Is
it's
it?
just
Is it?
different. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's kind of like a Latin type thing, which doesn't always have the swing too.
yeah,
So that could be why it works out. But
yeah.
yeah, I thought the groove was very nice,
Thank you.
there. But yeah, it is. I could imagine that'd be difficult with multiple instruments and then recording studio settings. So
Yeah,
all right, you pulled it off. Great.
thank you.
Um, so many directions we could go from here. So I'll probably be letting some things go that would be fun to talk about. But let's talk about the piano drone because what I can tell you is this just came into my consciousness like past couple of months. We
Mm,
have a friend of the show and a technician in St. Louis, Missouri, named
okay.
Joe Jackson that we work with, and he's been really excited about this. So I'll talk to him recently. He's like, "Oh, I want to do this collaboration with them," and he wants to build his own in St. Louis.
Oh, well,
And they want to build these all over the world on every continent or something. And then you could have
yeah.
this thing where you tour the piano drones and play in all the venues. So
Yeah.
um, tell us what you know about it because I know
Yeah.
some, but not as much as maybe you do, or I don't know. Yeah, tell us
Yeah,
about the
yeah. So
venue.
yeah, so they have their main one, which is based just outside Edinburgh, just above
Uh-huh.
Edinburgh. And then they have actually just, I think within the last week, opened up another one in Scotland as well,
Oh,
in an abandoned church, which is much bigger. And I believe, I mean, I'm unsure if this is absolutely correct, but I believe that it started actually in Charlotte in America. I'm not sure
oh.
which state is that in? I can't
North
remember.
Carolina?
Yeah, I think it started
Oh,
there
yeah.
and then it came over. So it kind of migrated.
Mm,
Um, and the developer, the main guy that built the whole thing, is I think trying to really get more of them happening.
hmm
And it's brilliant because it provides a platform for performers of all different styles of music as well. So they're
hmm
really passionate about folk music, about electronic music, like it's not just for pianists.
hmm
And it's very community led. And you can go and actually take home a piano and choose which one that you'd like. Yeah, so um, they have seen several hundreds of pianos that have come through that they've rescued and
mm.
then turned into the seats, turned into different things around the space. Used the keys for things, the strings for things. So it's very creative and quite an arty sort of bohemian location. And yeah, it's very inspiring being there. So if anyone's listening that ends up going to Scotland, you do have to go and see it because it's quite unique.
Yes. Yes.
It's very unique, and it's a piano. It's a piano lovers like beautiful place, but it's also just if you're interested in art or if you're interested in community led projects or
hmm
um, music of any kind, you should still go. Yeah, it's really nice.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I heard about it from Joe. He opened a coffee shop in his town. He has a piano rebuilding facility in this abandoned gas station down the street, turned it into a little coffee shop, but it's a piano coffee shop, right? So he did a
Oh,
similar
nice.
theme where like everything's made out of parts of old pianos and
Yeah.
um it's a romantic notion many people get excited about.
Yes. Yeah.
Might as well use it for all it's worth, right? Because why throw these things away and let them
Exactly.
rot?
Exactly.
Um, Wonderful. Well, I want to switch over to the Brit School a little bit. I would love to learn
Yeah.
a little bit more about it. Being from the States, I don't always get the details. So tell us about the Brit
Yeah.
School and your experience there.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, the BRIT School predominantly specializes in pop music, pop, rock, jazz, electronic, but really it's a pop school.
hmm
And you can also study drama, dance, musical theatre. And so some of the top alum of the Brit School have been Adele, Amy Winehouse, Jessie J, um, in the acting world, Tom Holland. So you've got some quite notable artists that have come from there.
hmm
And so I went when I was 16, which was in 2008. And I was there for 2 years, and it was a very fascinating experience because I had predominantly trained as a classical musician. I'd always learnt the dots. I played in
hmm
bands at school, you know, I'd made my own bands, but really all my kind of discipline was classical. And then I go to the Brit School and it's just like complete opposite. Like all the kids are smoking, you know, everyone's wearing their own clothes, like. And I'd been at a Catholic girls' school before that, so it was really kind of like a shocking transition. Um, but you were very much kind of pushed to find your own identity as a musician, and they taught you so many other things that I would never have experienced had I just stayed in kind of a formal traditional training. Like we had these classes called music appreciation where they'd make us lie on the floor and they'd basically play a concept album and they would just make us listen to the entire album. And the one that sticks in my head is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, they just made us listen to the whole
The
thing
whole thing. That's
and then
great.
like discuss it afterwards. And it's, I mean, for a 16-year-old, that's quite like mind blowing in a way because you're not always really aware of what the
They didn't give you
theme
any
really
drugs,
is.
did they?
Yeah, it's like it's quite they're quite mature themes in a way, but they were
Sure.
trying to open our eyes to artistry
Mhm.
and to doing different things and not
Yeah.
trying to follow a crowd or learning how to use your life in your music.
Yeah.
And I don't think in the classical world that gets taught at all. I don't think
Hmm.
they don't teach artists how to channel their life into the music. Whereas I think with songwriters,
Hmm.
with pop musicians, I suppose in general, singers, you do have that a little bit more because they're singing text, so they have to understand the kind of the nature of what the text is. And but with classical training, it's just very much this is the composer. You do as you're told. You do as what the composer wants, and that's it. You know,
Hmm.
there's no diverting. Whereas really, that's not quite right. And I
Hmm.
don't think that that creates like a true interpretation. That's not you're basically then just reading the dots. You're
Right.
not actually
Right.
channeling anything. So yeah, so but my experience there was really fascinating. You know, I did struggle to fit in, I think, a bit because I was so classical, and I think a lot of the musicians there were already quite into the pop industry in some way. So
Mhm.
it took me time to kind of figure out, okay, you know, what's my thing?
Yeah.
What do I excel in? And especially because I was doing so much guitar as well, I was kind of seen as the classical guitarist.
Hmm.
Whereas really I was also doing all these other things. So yeah, but it's fascinating, you know, walking around and there's just kids everywhere, like in leotards and playing the guitar, and it's just like, yeah, very creative.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So what brought you there? So that sounds like an interesting choice, because
yeah.
did you say this is where I want to go and I want to kind of transform or
I,
um
you
yeah,
know,
what was
I
your thought?
think I wanted to rebel a bit. I think
Okay.
I think I had so long at my previous school doing, and it was a very good school, but it was very traditional and actually quite strict. And I just felt like I wasn't hitting my limit. You know, I don't feel like I was really being pushed in the right way, like told to kind of push a boundary or experiment in a way. It was just like I could clearly play, and that was
Mhm.
enough. And okay, we'll just get her to play loads of stuff, as
Mhm.
opposed to like challenging the way I was thinking and playing as a musician. So yeah, so I made that decision then and thought, okay, I'm just going to go for it. And when you're very young, it's quite a difficult decision to make. And I did spend some time thinking, have I made the right decision? You know, I was so classical and now I'm doing everything but. Is this the right thing for me? Because I felt so different. But now, as I've kind of reached this point in my career and I've achieved this accolade of being the first person from that school to actually do a classical album in my way and of such an
Mhm.
unusual composer, it's kind of worked out quite well.
Yeah, oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you get to be with the standout among the standouts. The
yeah,
oddball among the oddballs.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
that's perfect.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so you said you started at 16.
yeah,
So is this school like it feels like almost like a university college type of thing we would have in the States.
yeah.
For that case, you would go maybe around 18, 17 at the earliest. Is this a school is there no minimum age limit or or how does it work? Did you go
Yeah.
early?
So it's actually only from year 10. So for us, year 10, I think is about 14. And
Okay, so you can go there as a younger person, and you
yeah,
do that alongside your traditional education,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So you would do your maths, English, and science, and then you would
Hmm.
specialize in your stream, they call it.
Hmm.
So, but it does stop at 18. So as soon as you've kind of hit that, hit year 13, we say, you just go. So, but you do feel very independent. You are kind of left to figure it out a bit yourself. You're not as kind of protected under a system as maybe you would be in a school. They just want you to build that resilience in a way, and kind of build your craft, but also learn how to behave as an adult in the industry, because that's what you're going to have to do in a sense, you know, how to communicate and kind of turn up on time and stuff like that. So
Sure.
Yeah.
How to trash the hotel room.
Yeah. How to be a diva. Yeah.
You late on purpose or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, maybe let's should we listen to this Spotify track here?
Yes, yeah, let's do it.
So what came up here, this is the 8 concerts and etudes, right? Opus 40 number 8.
Yeah.
Do you want to, this is also Kapustin. Did you want to give any context here? Should I just hit play?
Yeah, so it's the first single that we've released from the album. As you said, it's the 8th concert etude, so it's the last of the etudes. And yeah, it's I'm gonna I won't say anything else. So let's just listen to it, and then and then we can talk about it.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'll do audio only because this is just a Spotify track. So we'll just be sitting here nodding our heads or whatever.
Okay. I love my tea.
Another good one. Love it.
Kapustin's amazing. isn't he? So he's just
Yeah,
genius. Yeah.
on my play, added to my favorites.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like we've had a couple other folks on here recently doing Kapustin,
Oh,
and
really?
as somebody who studied jazz piano, he wasn't on my radar,
No, he
until
wouldn't have
recently,
been.
and I'm just,
Yeah,
yeah,
because he thought of himself as a classical pianist.
mm,
And
yeah,
and because traditionally jazz musicians don't necessarily study score in the way that a classical musician would, they wouldn't
mhm,
automatically think I'm going to spend hours and hours learning this piece by someone who calls himself a
right,
classical composer. And really, I think
right,
if I met Kapustin, I would say to him, obviously he's passed away, but I would say to him, "You are jazz, though. But you are jazz. Like
sure,
just because it's written down, it doesn't mean it's not jazz
hmm
anymore." And I've had so many kind of
right,
open discussions with people about what makes a genre, especially jazz and
hmm
classical, because in classical music we used to have improvisation all the time traditionally, like it was a huge part
hmm
of the culture,
sure,
you know,
yeah,
and just because, you know, and also in jazz we have to transcribe solos all the time. So
hmm
why does the process of them putting it on paper does that mean it's not jazz
hmm
anymore because it's being written? So it's a very interesting
hmm
topic that I like kind of discussing, the kind of the boundary culturally and socially of what makes each genre what it is. But so with this
yeah,
track in particular, the way I kind of approached it was just like core rhythm, and I worked with a drummer basically immediately from the start and just asked them to kind of groove with me, and we kind of explored different
mm,
patterns,
yeah,
because all you're looking at is quavers. It's just like loads and loads of quavers.
hmm
Um, and kind of taking it to different people, different mentors, I kind of developed like my own sense of what I felt the rhythm was,
hmm
but it can be played very, very differently.
hmm
Like Kapustin himself recorded most of his own works, and he plays that incredibly fast. Like there's almost no groove in that sense. It's
mm,
just so fast. It's
mm,
over in like a minute. Um, but because I really liked the locking in of the feeling and having explored it with drums, that's how I wanted to record it. So I just rehearsed for hours and hours with a drum loop from YouTube, just again and again and again, to kind of really get the
mm,
feeling of the kind of funk rhythm.
mm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, do you improvise? I mean, I haven't been able to tell yet. Have
No,
you gotten into playing some jazz or improvising, or like
I'm doing
what's
a
your
bit.
personal approach? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of like jazz in a traditional sense.
hmm
And I actually do a lot of free improv. So not
hmm
jazz improv, but just free.
Okay.
Um, yeah, where it's not necessarily based on modes and chords and
hmm
things. You have no rules. And actually that's almost maybe more what improvisation is.
Sure.
That's kind of the real nature of true improvisation.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm exploring that. Yeah,
Okay.
and although it's not my comfort zone, I think it helps a lot to
hmm
understand that, because obviously Kapustin improvised to begin with and then composed on his improvisations. So he had to know how to improvise to begin with,
mm
to be able to get to his final result, which is why he's very protective and says this is not jazz,
mm
because what is jazz without improvisation?
hmm
So, um, but I feel that because of the music, I grew up listening to jazz. Like it was the music of my home.
Okay.
Every couple of weeks, my living room would turn into a jazz club because my mum's jazz friends would come over. You
Oh,
know, so
wow.
yeah, so I would watch people play in my living room, and that was the sound of my childhood in a way. So I did integrate a jazz awareness, but I just never had the lessons showing me how to access it physically on the
Sure.
keys. But I
Hmm.
never really asked. I didn't even really question it. I just knew that, this is the music I'm playing. I'm playing the classical stuff, but I'm listening to the jazz, and that's just
Hmm.
normal. I didn't ever say, "Oh, can I actually do the jazz?" I just
Hmm.
liked doing what I was doing.
Right.
Um, but I can see that over years and years that sound has stayed with me, which is
Sure.
why when I play Kapustin, it feels so natural,
Hmm.
because really I've had the jazz awareness inside me the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you have and you also have a good, like you said, groove, and part of that's probably internally, or maybe it wasn't, and you said, but it should be, and you're telling me work with a drummer or something. You have some sense of getting
Yeah.
um like a jazz specific approach to I mean, and
Yeah.
also the groove, of course, is even more than just the rhythms that you use. It's the rhythms along with the accents of the different, pitches along
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're doing a good job there. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, Anything that you wanted to touch upon? We'll be on for about 10, 15 more, but yeah, anything I've missed that you think is exciting to share about right at this moment in your um,
Um,
career or life? Or...
I suppose the following on from this album that I'm doing,
Mhm.
my next step would actually be to look at more of Kapustin's music that hasn't been recorded specifically for piano and big band, because he wrote loads of compositions that just haven't even been touched. Some you can't even find recordings of, which is
Mhm.
fascinating because he's such a main um, 20th century piano composer. Like, he's really one of the most recognized 20th century composers. But there's still so much that hasn't been discovered, and it's almost that paradox of, as soon as a composer dies, that's when they become really popular. So I don't think
Mhm.
he's even had his peak yet. I think that musicians are still discovering him. And actually, when I do concerts, I normally ask the audience who has actually heard of Kapustin, and hardly anyone puts their hand up.
Mhm.
So it's super, super niche. But I actually think in America he might be more well known than in Europe. The people that I've spoken to, the musicians that I've met when I was in New York last year, the classical musicians I spoke to, they had heard of Kapustin.
Mm.
But the audience in the UK are still kind of catching on to it. They're not too familiar with it. And I think that's interesting because Kapustin was so inspired by America
Mm.
from the jazz.
Yeah.
That's how he discovered jazz
Right.
on the radio when he was in Russia, and jazz was kind of prohibited then.
Mhm.
And then when it started to become more popular, American musicians were touring in Russia, and then he actually got to see some of them play. And then he
Mhm.
himself was playing it really actively. Um, I've just said loads and loads of different things there. I could probably focus on
No.
one thing in particular. Um, I think it's just about trying to share music that isn't known and
Mhm.
trying to make it accessible to people, um, because I'm very passionate about it. And I also find that I've fallen into quite an unusual place where I don't fit in either category. And classical venues sometimes have to double check what Kapustin is.
Uh-huh.
If I say it's jazz, and then they actually have to quickly go on YouTube and have a look. And then also with jazz venues, they're like, oh, well, hang on, there's no improv. So
Mhm.
we don't want
Right.
you to play here. And so it's really frustrating in a way, because his music is so brilliant. And
Right.
and even just listening to such a small amount now, we can hear how much jazz there is in it.
Mhm.
Um, but I say people, audiences and concert promoters are still a little bit kind of, oh, we're not sure, like,
Yeah.
because you don't fit into a category.
Right.
But
People love
that's
categories.
precisely what people need, is something completely of its own thing,
Yeah.
you know, something very fresh.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, so it has a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
But yeah, but people tend to. I remember learning many years ago. It really comes down to almost anybody that's a creator, especially in the more maybe outside the classical field a little bit more. If you ask them what style of music their music is, they'll often just kind of like they'll kind of get stalled out, and then they'll come up with it's kind of like jazz or whatever.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized that the categories that we have for music are often for the listener, for the audiences, for the music distributors, because
Mm,
it's just kind of like saying, what kind of ice cream do you like? You got to have a flavor that you like and you like, so you can find similar things.
mm,
And so, but the no many musicians, they don't have some sort of category they're shooting for, or that they even can put their own music into.
mm.
It's just that you kind of have to in order to reach the audience and like find your target. So, um,
Yeah, that's interesting because actually in the classical world, it is more rigid, but in the other genres, it's more open, especially kind of
mm,
in folk and in rock. You kind of have these mashes, and that's really acceptable and that's really normal. One rock band isn't just a rock. It's not just rock. Like it
mm,
could be. It's a mix of punk and it's a mix of electro and it's all these different
mhm,
things. Whereas I find that the classical world is still more rigid. They like the definition and they
mm,
want to know what it is.
sure.
So I think it needs work. I think that industry needs a little bit of loosening up,
Mm,
and also recognizing that classical music isn't just music that was written within a certain period.
mhm,
I think when you're a classical musician, it just means that you study another composer, or
mhm,
you use composition as kind of like your main source. Whereas actually there's so many classical musicians who play completely electronic music because that was what they've been studying. So
mhm.
it's about the definition, I think. Yeah, but I find it fascinating. I could talk about it for hours.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah, there's a lot of threads we could have talked about. I had to throw some away just to make sure
No,
we could
it's fine.
continue the conversation. Are you aware of David Clavins?
No,
David
I don't.
Clavins and the Clavins piano?
No.
I feel like you might have some fun exploring that too. It's
Okay, I will.
so he's I think he's Latvian by birth. And I think that's where he's living now. And so he kind of invented sort of a new type of piano, but was inspired by the piano. The first ones that he created were in the 80s, 90s, and you have to climb a staircase to play them. He made the bass strings very long.
Oh,
Are
I
you familiar
know.
with this?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Now that you said that, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Um, and but also now he makes sort of smaller pianos. He calls the unicorda pianos, and
Yes.
but you might find it interesting to play on some of these as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I can get.
Have you played on one now
No,
that
no.
I described it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, no. But I know what you're referring to. Yeah, quite
Yeah.
rare. And I don't know. He's probably not the person that's done the round piano. The kind of curved
No,
key.
that's a whole different thing.
That's a
Yeah. There's
whole.
these different.
Yeah, I'd like to try one of those as well. That would
Yeah.
be quite fun. But I have
The,
tried the piano with the narrow keys.
the
The-
stretto.
yes, that's it. Yeah, and they're
Yes.
very unusual.
Yes.
But
We've
they
had.
actually have one at Piano Drome.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, there's a woman named Hannah Reimann who's kind of like the advocate for those.
All
And
right.
we had her on the program many times. She's just kind of
Yeah.
talking about her saga of, pursuing
Yeah.
the revolution of small keyed pianos. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can never tell how big a person is on Zoom.
No,
Are your hands like,
they're they're pretty small.
they're small? Oh yeah, so that's
And
perfect. Yeah.
I could my stretch is like a ninth, really, to be honest. Like,
Okay.
which is amazing because so much of jazz is tenths. Like,
Mm.
almost everything in the left hand has tenths, especially in Kapustin. So I've had to like come up with ways to just do little
Play it
tricks to
quickly or
either,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
play or substitute with the other hand and quickly jump up. And
Yeah.
I've had to do so much more acrobatics.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Well, you can get a Strato keyboard in one of those. That's
maybe.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Hannah will help you. She is fierce.
Oh,
Have you aware of her?
I've heard of her. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know her, so
Yeah.
I will
She'll
connect
take
with
it
her.
on. She's like fighting for these things to be
Yeah,
everywhere. She's
I'll connect with
relentless.
her.
Awesome. Um, all right. Well, we're going to be wrapping here pretty soon.
Yeah,
I officially want to give you a moment to do a final thought, like words of wisdom, or just go check out this, check me out on Spotify or follow me here, or go to the website, or here's the next
yeah,
concert. What's your sort of quick
yeah,
last
yeah.
words of wisdom?
Well, I'll just quickly kind of promote the album a little bit. So the single that we just heard, that's the first single, and then on Friday we're releasing the second single, and then 2 Fridays after that we're releasing the third single, and then on the 14th of November we're releasing the full album, and it's 20 tracks of Kapustin, including the three singles. And I'm doing a London launch at Beckstein Hall. So I'm playing on a really gorgeous Beckstein. And then next summer, I'm also playing a Kapustin concerto at a great venue in London called Cadogan Hall, which is in Sloane Square. So if any of your viewers ever happen to be in London and fancy coming, and they want to hear more of Kapustin, and I'm very chatty in my concert, so I talk about him a lot. So it's a very educational experience as well. But yeah, word of wisdom as well, just like try and find your own voice. I think that's it. And just mute everything else and just do you.
All right, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I wanted to talk about your time in New York. We'll have to have you back and
Oh,
chat
I'd
some more
love that.
sometime.
Thank you.
But and then also I'm gonna wrap up. We'll end the Zoom call. If you have a moment, jump right back on the link. We'll do a quick wrap
Okay.
up, just you and me.
Okay.
But I'll sign us off here.
Cool.
We have reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thanks so much to Ophelia Gordon for joining us today, as well as our live audiences here on Zoom and the socials. As always, we're brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, cutting edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that joined us today by signing up for this session individually, make your life more convenient by subscribing to Piano Tech Radio Hour at just $16 a month. You'll get the recording of today's session in our member area, as well as automatic registration for each week's new session. Sign up at bit.ly/join PTRH, bit.ly/join PTRH. Don't forget about the podcast, Piano Tech Radio Hour podcast, pianotechradio.com, and the Substack. You can check that out. The socials, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Also, there's a new project on the horizon that's loosely affiliated education project I want you to check out on the podcast. It's uotu.xyz, the University of the Universe. Very excited about that. Give a little plug here and there, but I'd love for you guys to check that out and get involved in the future of education. Okay, folks, thanks so much, and we will see
Thank
you
you.
again.